get us going.
Yep.
And good morning, everybody. Good
Yay!
morning.
Yay!
Welcome. Hey. All right. So it's Monday and the body knows it. And today we have this great conversation with this incredible human being. And I'm really, really excited to get us going. Today's conversation is going to be about how would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? I'll say it again. How would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? Awesome. Let's get us going. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you all for being here. Today we have a phenomenal conversation with a phenomenal human being, and she's back, and she used to be part of the Daily Huddle, and now she's back, and maybe she's going to be back with us on a regular basis, and I'm really excited about that because as a high impact individual, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, as a human being committed and up to something, one of the most difficult things is to find meaning in it all and not be inside of sort of a race every day, being inside of a race that nobody wins. But man, we gotta race, right? We gotta go fast, and somehow we're gonna beat somebody else that is not really competing with us, right? And so it's really difficult to live this thing we call life without a perspective that anchors it all so that we can find fulfillment in life. And I think that very few people in the world are better for this kind of conversations, for the kind of conversation that leaves you self-expressed, full self-expression, high impact human being, making a difference while at the same time enjoying life. And I think very few people are able to do that. And Dr. Ogando is one of them who can anchor us in this thing we call life. Monikah, good morning. Thank you for being back.
Woohoo! I love a good cameo. Thank you for having me.
What did you say,
Yes.
cameo? Maybe you didn't get the memo.
You gotta be a guest star before you become a regular in the season.
I got it. I got it.
I'm
Thank
I'm
you for being
excited to
here.
be here. I'm excited to be here. Where shall we begin? Do you want me to just run my mouth? Is that the deal?
When you run your mouth,
But wait, so
gold
there's a
comes
few
out
people
of it,
who,
but don't.
here's what I'm going to say. A few people don't know about you.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is kind of a different take. So I'm
Yes.
going to introduce you a little bit in the way I kind
Okay.
of know you, and
All
then
right.
introduce your story, and then maybe Sorrel says something about that. So one of the things that I know about you is that you have a doctorate degree in comparative religion, and
Yes.
you have been an executive coach and a consultant for over 10 years, I think.
25.
25?
Yeah. In November it'll be 25 years.
Jeez.
Hmm.
Okay. 25 years. And you have been a TEDx speaker twice,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And you have supported individuals with startup companies and keeping sustainable processes in the context of leadership, in the context
Hmm.
of growth, and um, and so you're just phenomenal human being, high
Thanks.
impact human being. But you bring a really interesting amalgamation between high performance, leadership, and spirituality, and
I love
that's
that word.
a really important aspect, given that there there's no winning in life, and there's no race we win. Is what I'm trying to say. We live and we die, and there's nothing, outside of that. That at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is what I have found for myself
Hmm.
is that there is no trophy big enough that I accomplish that will leave me more fulfilled than being present to the life I have. And,
Amen.
I, and that's what I'm trying to say. And And I think that, and it's easy to forget that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
in life, Dr. Ogando, things happen all the
Yeah,
time.
all the time.
And we're trying to go for the promotion all the time,
Mhm.
and win our games all the time. And then things happen and disappointment happen and unfulfilled expectations happen. And so what is your take on this question? How would you lead differently if you trusted the timing?
Hey, Gio,
Yeah.
I want to say something about Dr. Monikah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, folks, Gio just mentioned that Dr. Monikah has a triple PhD in comparative religion, and and you may think that spirituality and leadership doesn't quite mix. And I think what you bring to the table, Monikah, is the possibility of making irreverence and reverence mix in such a way that it makes spirituality accessible to everyday people.
You're
Like
hired. Come work at the PR department.
I am this everyday guy, everyday leader who's dealing
Yeah.
with the problems I'm dealing with. And yet I hear in the background something that says, you know, if I add a little meaning to my life, if I add a little bit of that thing they call God to my life, it
Mhm.
might make the journey a little more palatable.
Mhm.
And in my experience, most don't go there because they go, I'm a corporate guy, I'm a corporate woman, I'm a business owner, and
Yeah.
that's just not appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, you have a way of making the two mix. And inside of today's question, how would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? I think this question gives us and you specifically the opportunity to bring that aspect of it all to life and
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
and create with us. So thank you for being here.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again, both of you, for having me. I love our family. And once family, always family, right?
Yeah.
So from it's and thank you also, Sorel, for saying what you just said, because a lot of the work that I do is in corporate environments, and it is with executive and entrepreneurial leaders who are responsible for people who um, they typically do not find themselves in an environment where they can kind of like lay it down and wrestle with some of these things, because everybody's pulling at them for something. Somebody wants a payroll check cut, somebody wants a promotion, somebody wants et cetera, or they themselves are up for that. And they feel like they have to kind of race for impact or be careful of who they say, what they say to whom, because it might be weaponized against them, etc. And so that brings me to the conversation about surrendering versus forcing in terms of trusting timing. Because trusting timing means leading from alignment rather than control. A leader who trusts timing doesn't force outcomes prematurely, but stays rooted in vision and knowing that what is meant will arrive. Now, knowing that what is meant will arrive doesn't mean you get to sit on your tush.
Hmm.
Right. Almost, it's like there's a saying that says, "Trust God, but tie up your camel." And so, in the same way, we get to work in a different kind of time. The Greeks distinguished between chronos, which means like clock time, it's linear, and kairos, which is divine time. And trusting timing means acting when the kairos moment emerges, which often feels synchronistic and it produces exponential results. So we already do this. This is not a new thing. This is not a new concept that I'm introducing to leaders. We already do this, and I'll prove it to you. Have you ever been in a meeting or a thing where you're just not flowing? You feel like the energy's not there, you're just not in the mood. Everything that somebody says is just kind of like annoys you, and it's like, why am I even here? This meeting could have been an email, you know. And then there are times when you're in a meeting with people and you're like, time has flown by and it's like it's all flowing and I'm having ideas and somebody pulls out the dry erase board like I have back here. And, it's just, it feels creative and it feels in flow. Maybe it was even the same people, but perhaps because you had good sleep and hydration and a good breakfast, and these are people that you don't have any kind of like energetic friction with, now all of a sudden things can flow. And same 3 o'clock meeting, right? So this isn't about like, post meal sleepies or anything like that. It's really about being in that synchronistic timing thing. And so when you can recognize that there's what I like to call the energetics of patience, because impatience creates that frantic energy that in trust creates coherence. And neuroscience shows us that a regulated nervous system creates trust and psychological safety in teams. And so that's what it is in terms of trusting the timing. It's not so much about going from being corporate and professional to being woo woo and laissez faire. It's about integrating, like you said, those two things of like, it's chronos. I'm still going to show up to a 3 o'clock meeting at 3 o'clock, but also I'm going to set myself up and prepare myself and do what I have to do so that once it's time to get going, I can go with flow and not this friction, right?
Yeah, I totally get that. And one of the things I heard you say is that the way you're talking about timing, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily woo-woo. And sometimes when people hear the question, the statement we have, how would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? They tend to think and go with what I would call divine timing.
Mhm.
Is it my time to do X? Is it your time to do X? Or is it in God's time? Is there a connection to that you're making that I didn't hear?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm such a big proponent of people knowing history isn't just for the sake of pointing out places where we fell short in our humanity in the past to kind of lord it over people to not do that in the future. That's not the point of history. For me, the point of history is to increase your pattern recognition skill. Because if you can recognize patterns, then you can ride those waves, right? So imagine that you went outside, it's the middle of December, it's cold, it's rainy, it's, all the things, right? It's barren out there. And you go out there with a Hawaiian t-shirt and shorts and chancletas. It's not going to be very comfortable, right? And you're like, but this is what I like to wear. It's like, oh, but it's not the time for that. I mean, if you could wear it if you want to, but you're going to be uncomfortable and cold, and good luck with that, right? And so this idea of divine timing, I think sometimes the resistance that people have to that is that it sounds like you're absconding responsibility for your own results and your own output. And that is not the implication of divine timing. The implication of divine timing is kind of like reading the room, right? So if you know that on a grand scale, you may not be responsible for winter coming, but you know it's coming. And so when you can read those patterns, it's like, oh, it's September. Oh, the leaves are starting to change. Oh, it's time for sweater weather soon,
Yeah,
When
get
you
ready
can
to
read,
ditch the shorts.
that's right. So when you can see patterns in that way, then it's like, oh, okay, I know that after every peak, there's often a down and a valley. I know that. And I know that after every valley, there's usually a peak. And so therefore, when there's a lull in my business, when maybe there aren't as many customers, maybe this is not the time to be lead generation and promotion and blah, blah, blah. Let me hunker down and do my internal stuff so that my internal systems will be prepared for the next peak that's sure to come. Instead of
Yeah.
freaking out, like I gotta keep promoting. Maybe that's not the time for that. And if you had been paying attention to the patterns of the seasons of your business, you would understand when you not need to sit down and when you need to stand up and run after it, right? So that's what I mean
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. And I was very religious in a given lifetime, and I always wanted to hear the voice of God speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm hearing what you're saying, winter's going to come, summer's going to come. History is about learning patterns and recognizing them. So I may be here today in a way that's more informed than before. In a way, are you saying that the voice of God, that as a religious person, that I'd be looking to hear is always around me. And I just haven't been listening and seeing the patterns and heeding what it's saying. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know that there is a, I think we tend to, because we externalize divinity and we tend
Hmm.
to put it outside of us, we think if we go to a particular place at a particular date and time, usually Sundays at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m., that's
Or
that
Wednesday
somehow,
night.
right? That's where I'll get to hear, right? But that voice of divinity is within you. Some of us call it intuition. You might find it in nature. You can find it in the coo of a baby. You can find it in, a memory that comes, somebody maybe that made their transition, like my father passed away 4 years ago, and sometimes I'll hear a song, I'm like, okay, Dad, what you got to say, right? And I assign it to him, trying to give me a message, right? And so, and I don't pretend to know that that's the truth, like with a capital cosmic T. But it's useful, it's empowering. And when I approach my life in that way, I feel much more equipped to handle all the uncertainties and vicissitudes that may happen on a day-to-day basis in my business and in the business of my clients than if I were to be like, well,
Yeah.
it's all in God's timing. That just feels like absconding responsibility to me. It's like, who's God in your life except you? Right? God sent you to handle this life. God sent Giovanni to handle the Giovanni Gonzalez life. God sent Sorrel to handle the Sorrel life. That's why you can't fire yourself. That's the only job you got.
Gio, what's burning over there?
Yeah, this is a fascinating conversation. So intellectually rich. I love it. Uh, um, one of the things that I was thinking, Monica, when it comes, how would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? What was opening up for me, and you were sort of pointing to it. Um, there are times in our business where things are just not going in the right direction,
Mm-hmm.
or at least in the one is planning to, strategizing for,
Mm-hmm.
and or maybe uh, um, an employee is no longer happy and they're pushing back and resisting, or maybe a business partner did something that was just out of character and just really hurt the relationship, or maybe a client gives the worst review and it brings the business down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Mm-hmm.
happens,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 for me, the whole aspect of trusting the timing is that, for me, leadership is not a place one arrives.
Yeah.
It's not like a mountain that I arrive. It's like it's an everyday conversation on the court that I get to reinvent myself on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if the business is not where I want it to be, or a relationship is not where I want it to be, or something happens that is not what I wanted, one of the things that you're opening up is, for me, is without having it said, without pointing to divinity necessarily, but it could be the right timing for me to grow out of that situation,
Yeah.
for me to grow out of that circumstances, for me to learn something.
Yes.
And also, one of the things that you were pointing to was, well, I'm not at fault for winter to come, but I can see it. I can prepare for it.
Yeah.
And I think something about timing is, how is it that what was I paying attention to that I didn't see winter?
Mm.
Where was my
Mm-hmm.
attention to? What was
Yes.
I being righteous about? So I think this whole thing about timing is so big for one's growth and development. It's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you're sharing here because you bring up something, you didn't say it this way, but this is what I got from what you're sharing, is that um, a lot of times what we're bracing against when we're doing that whole I didn't see winter coming, what was I paying attention to, is I'm trying to avoid change. And the reason I'm trying to avoid change is because I think change means threat, means danger, at least on a subconscious level. And that if I keep things the same, then I can continue to delude myself into thinking that I have some kind of control over what's happening, and that feels safer, right? And however, if you're gripping like this on some of those, that's where we get all that burnout. Studies show that over 60% of leaders suffer from burnout when pushing against timing instead of pacing themselves. And leaders that allow our natural cycles reduce attrition and increase retention in their companies and their businesses and so forth. Um, and I know you know I'm a nerd, and I know that you love that about me. So you won't be surprised when I say, I read somewhere in the Harvard Business Review. Like, who reads the Harvard? What happened to your Cosmopolitan? Why are you reading HBR? I read in the Harvard Business Review some research that shows that waiting for more complete data before decisions improves accuracy by 40%. That may mean that you delay some, self-imposed deadline on something or a metric that you think you should have reached by now because you're waiting for some more information. But that improves accuracy by 40%. So trusting timing doesn't necessarily mean waiting forever. It means acting when the right signals align. And when you have a leader who models calm, patient decision making, that team is also 31% more productive because employees spend less time managing anxiety and more time executing. Right. And so for me, that conversation isn't so much about the woo woo. I mean, it is about the woo woo, it is about the woo woo, but I don't call it that. For me, it's about pattern recognition. It's about um, seasonal planning, even. It's about adaptive decision making. It's about signal based moves so that you can make strategic moves with key indicators like customer readiness or market signals or internal team energy. When those things converge, you're moving in a very strategic way rather than reacting to fear or to competition. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, I like the woo-woo view a little more. And what I mean by that, here's what I mean by that. I'm always listening for KPIs. My entire life is about listening for my own KPIs and my client KPIs
Mhm.
and key performing indicators in whatever
Yes.
it is that they're measuring. I'm always listening for that. However, my effectiveness is not my listening for it, my looking for them, but my effectiveness comes from having a daily practice of being quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the effectiveness, if I could point to it, it comes from not from training my brain to not have so much noise.
Yeah.
The more noise I have, the less I can predict something or the less I can see what's in the way.
Yes.
And so, um,
But if I may add, Giovanni, it's also
so
about what you do with what comes up in the silence. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times what happens is you might get an instruction in the silence. You might get what I call a divine download, an intuitive hit in the silence that says, quit that job, leave that place, move from Georgia, or whatever the case may be. And then your logical mind starts like, but that's too risky. What do you mean? That's so soon. I just got here, blah, blah, blah. And you start arguing with your own intuition instead of being curious about where it's leading you. And so part of the value, first, the value is in getting into your silence so that you can hear yourself think, so that you can see what's there and what's
you can
popping up.
trust the timing of things.
Sure.
It's like it
Yeah.
allows for what's showing up. It allows for what's showing up to be okay, for one to be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's okay that it's my time to leave my job. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay let me look. Let me look at that. Now, one of the things, Dr. Ogando, that what you were pointing to is that my first thought is not the one that I trust. And so I'm not an intuition guy, but I'm not someone who trusts his intuition per se. I see my intuition as my first thought, and that's not one I trust, because my first thought is always crazy. So I trust community.
Okay.
I trust, let me share this with my community and see what gets revealed. Or let me be with something long enough to understand what gets revealed. And it's what for me is timing. Trust the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like paying attention to, we talked about this in terms of seasons, winter and whatever, and there's a seasonal rhythm to a career, to, a company's calendar, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we already see it in terms of linear time when people plan for, different quarters, right? So right now people are planning for Q1 2026, right? If not earlier. And so when you have that quarter four like reflection so that you can have the quarter one execution, right? That's kind of like the cycle that a lot of companies go through, sometimes even years in advance, a 5-year plan and so forth. And so when you can look at those seasonal cycles in that way, you can design strategy around them, and you can align growth cycles with readiness. How would you lead differently if you trusted the timing? You'd be prepared for it. You'd be relaxed into it instead of pushing against it. You would. I'm making these things up. Whoever, those of you that are here and those of you on the replay, raise your hand in the chat when you hear something that resonates with you. That you would be more relaxed. That you would be more prepared. That you would pace yourself. You wouldn't try to, jam everything into one day or 1 week or 1 month or whatever, when there's more coming, right? You would, like you said, Giovanni, engage the wisdom, the collective wisdom of community instead of trying to figure it all out by myself, because right. So when you can see the bigger picture in that way, when you can plan and move according to those seasonal cycles in that way, then you also know when it's time to sit down and be quiet, and when it's time to step on the stage. And if you were to delay any of that, you would then be honest about what you're making more important than honoring that timing. For example, it would be very honest for some of you. I already know I'm seeing some of your names and I know some of your stories. It would be very honest to say something like, I know it's my time to step on stage, but I'm still afraid and I don't want to. Right? If you could be that brutally honest with yourself, you would be less likely to continue to give yourself the same BS and call it something else, right? Because I'm a very big proponent of call a thing, right? And so if you were to do that, then it would be like, oh, see what I mean? See what I mean? So it would be very cool to be able to be like, okay, this is part of my wisdom too. Part of my wisdom is also witnessing myself when I'm in fear, when I'm in resistance, when I'm in caution, when I'm in hesitation, when I'm in, uh, you know, resentment even, right? When you can honor those things. I was like, okay, so what do I need in order to be complete with this stage of my emotional landscape and move on to the next thing? Because if I stay here, it'll just rot. And then I won't be able to see clearly. That's part of the trusting timing as well. And from leadership, right? Because trusting timing isn't just about like the hopscotch with life. Like, when do I get in and jump rope? It's about, how do I leverage the resources that I have, given that I'm already walking life and business as a leader.
Really great conversation. Thank you, Dr. Ogando. Well, it's 9:30. Sorel, you want to say something? Or I'm wondering if anyone in the room would like
had a
to add
question.
something or have a question. Go ahead, Sorel.
Go ahead, Laura.
Sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ogando. It's coming up for me. I don't know if I can express all the thoughts, but I did put in the chat that if I trusted divine timing, I would be relaxed.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
say that because I didn't even know how to trust divine timing. I was in a whole delusion of separation most of my life. And during my working time, because I didn't trust my intuition, that voice within, I didn't trust the downloads I was getting. I co-created so much stress, burnt out, that I had to leave the job because I didn't listen, I didn't trust. So that burnt out led me on a path now to start trusting, to uncover the higher self, to trust Kairos time. I
Mhm.
wish I could speak more about how we live back home in Jamaica, in Haiti. We trusted Kairos time. We woke up to the crows, to the sun rising, to the sun. We goes down with the sun at sunset. We go to bed, So this is a powerful conversation, and that's what I have to say for now. Thank you.
Sheta.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. In the statement itself, Dr. Ogando, how would I lead differently if I trusted the timing, right? And I
Mhm.
noticed throughout the conversation, we tended to replace the with divine. And I'm wondering if it would make sense to define as a closing statement, as the final thought for the day. What do you say is the timing?
Yeah, a great question. I would say if I trusted the timing, I would stop forcing outcomes and start leading from alignment, moving in Kairos and Chronos.
Mm,
That means designing strategy with rhythm and acting when those signals align and creating space for innovation. And not only for innovation, but creating a space where innovation and trust can actually breathe and dance together. Um, and and dance between the internal reflection and the outer execution. And we all know that feeling. We all know that feeling when I'm like in line, when I'm in flow, when I'm pacing. Right?
yeah.
Some of you may be runners, and when you get that runner's high, it's like, okay, at first I was like breathing hard. Now I know if I could do that hill, but now I'm floating, right? It's the same thing with our businesses. It's the same thing with our spiritual internal world.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for saying that. What I'm hearing is the possibility that maybe the timing isn't something that happens to me, to us, as if, oh, winter just showed up.
Right.
It's more that I could live a life if I choose to, where timing is really my timing, and
Mm-hmm.
my timing is aligned with the timing.
Yeah.
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 Gio, I'd love for you to come back and do what you do, brother, and close us out.
Go ahead, do it, Sorrel. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Go ahead, do it.
You mean I have to say hug the trees?
Trees. Right.
All right, gang. So, Dr. Ogando, thank you for being here. Jill, thank you for being my partner in creating this. And a long, long time ago, at the beginning of 2020, we created 7 tenets, and Dr. Ogando came into our lives, and we added an 8th tenet. And Dr. Ogando, you're very, very clear what those tenets are. So I'm going to say one, and you say the
Mhm.
other.
Oh, okay.
We've got to love if we're going to live a kind
Yes,
of life that's in timing. You
that's
go.
right. And part of that also means taking care of yourself. So that means get yourself at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night.
Absolutely. And if you do that, you will stress less. And part of
Mm-hmm.
stressing less involves feeding your body in a way that actually promotes all of that. So eat well. Giovanni loves to say, eat the trees, hug the trees, and at all costs, avoid processed foods. If you see a potato chip near you, run like hell.
That's right. Rebuke it. In the name of
Move your
spirit.
body
Hmm.
and your
You know what I
favorite
say about
one.
moving your body?
Yeah, I want you to say it.
Twerking is a Kundalini raising spiritual exercise. Don't sleep on twerking.
Uh-huh. And your favorite one.
Always audit your assumption. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Folks, this is the Leadership Huddle. We're here every Monday from 9 a.m. to 9:30-ish a.m. With my partner, Giovanni Gonzalez. We bring you everyday leaders, unique leadership perspectives to live your life powerfully and to lead your companies powerfully. See you next Monday. I love
Love you
you.
all.
Jill loves you more.
One love,
And
guys.
Dr.
One love.
Ogando loves you the best.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, all.
Thanks,
Peace.
everybody.
One love, guys. One love.